the imagery that came up for me was very much like fluid and like on its own.
Hmm.
And I kind of just like, it was a whole process of like trusting that and like continually letting go.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Deck Creator Corner. This is a space that I decided to create because I am also a deck creator. I'm in the process of making my own tarot deck and I'm just starting. So I decided to start this series so that I can get support and advice from those who came before me. So tonight, Mariza of the Gentle Tarot is going to be joining me. And while she gets a chance to join in and everything, I'm going to read you a little bit from her guidebook because we'll be talking about her tarot deck. And I'll read you a little excerpt from her book so that you can get an idea for what kind of deck we'll be working with. So she says, ultimately, we are all held and supported, But it is too often that we forget how connected we are to this support. I would like the Gentle Tarot to be a loving refuge of gentle reminders and nudges with colorful art that lifts the spirit. The figures are mostly nude because I hope when we approach this deck, we can strip free of our reservations and expectations. Naked, the way we were born, in full dialogue with our spirit's source. So there's a beautiful little excerpt from the guidebook just to give you a little hint to what the deck is like. You awesome. Oh, hey, there she is.
Hey!
How are you doing? Oh, sorry. How are you?
Good. How are you
It's
doing?
I'm doing amazing. It's so lovely to see you here. Did you catch all of that at the first?
Yeah, I did. There
Uh,
was a big lag, so I had to go out and come back in, but I think it's okay now.
you think it's okay now? Oh, that's a
Yeah.
lovely scarf. I love your scarf.
Thanks, my mom made it.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
awesome. My mom also crochets and sews and stuff.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's really cool. Oh, well, so lovely to see you here. I'm so happy to meet you finally.
Yeah, I know.
It's
I've been looking forward to it.
That's awesome. So before we get started, I wanted to just do a quick little intention setting to kind of just get us grounded into the moment and into the space. I have a piece of selenite here, and this is a cleansing kind of smudging crystal. And then I also have a maraca that I
Oh,
made.
nice.
Actually, I just made this yesterday as like my
Whoa.
as my opening ceremony for the new moon. So this is like the first time that I'm actually using it to like in ritual or to like in sacred space.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
so yeah, I'm just inviting to like maybe close our eyes for a couple seconds and just take a couple deep breaths together while I do my maraca, and then that way we can just get grounded and kind of get into the zone.
Sounds good.
Awesome. And anybody who's watching is welcome to join in with us, please. Um, so yeah, I would like to just invite everybody to just close their eyes, ground into the moment that you're in. Let's all be present here and just take a couple of deep breaths at your own pace, maybe 2 or 3 breaths. And I will have the selenite here for cleansing and also the maraca. So this will be the time to kind of just ground and connect to everybody else that's on here and with Mari and I, and for like to have an auspicious interview. Okay. Okay.
That was so nice.
Oh, I'm
It
glad you liked it.
It's crazy to see yours too, because I actually have one sitting. I don't know if you could see it. It's back there on my little.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
just took it out. It's from I'm like a danzante, like an Aztec dancer, and it's been a little while, so I finally got my stuff out, and it's
That's
nice you
really
have
awesome.
one too.
So thank you for being part of the first time that I used this.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. So thank you for doing that for me. I hope that kind of sets the stage for the rest of the interview, and I hope it kind of sets a good vibe for everybody that's joining us tonight. So now I would just like to quickly jump into some introductions. I would just like to let you go first and let us know who Mari is. Just a quick, nothing too in depth, but just give us a little bit about you, and I'll talk a little bit about me, maybe a little bit about the Gentle Tarot, just a tiny bit, because we're going to be talking about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just quick introductions just to catch everybody up and let everybody know who we are and what we're doing.
Okay. So my name is Mariza, artist behind Mari in the Sky. Um, I created my first tarot deck. Uh, yeah, the Gentle Tarot last year. I definitely had no idea what I was getting into. Just kind of followed my heart, and it's just totally changed my entire life. But anyway, yeah, so I'm the artist and the writer. I did have a friend help me edit the guidebook, but
Mm.
yeah, excited to see what questions you got.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, so thank you so much for that quick intro. First thing that I would like to talk about what is how did the Gentle Tarot get started? Where did that idea come from? Was it just one day you were doing tarot I want to do a deck? How did that start? And then how long did it take you to decide I'm gonna do a Kickstarter and then actually going through with doing the
Hmm.
Kickstarter?
Yeah. Um, so I guess I kind of had it in my mind ever since I first got exposed to tarot. Actually, it was really back in 2010.
Mm,
Um, but I never had such a, I didn't really get into a personal practice. It was more like sharing with friends. I would always, my close friends would get together and we would do tarot. And I just, honestly, it was really last summer. I was doing my remote Alaskan salmon job, where
yes,
it's
I saw that.
yeah,
Yes.
so it's basically camping in a really remote location, and my coworker had a deck, and I just I guess the draw to actually create really hit me because I wasn't able to really connect with the illustrations in a way that I wanted to.
Mm,
I always felt like my tarot I feel like tarot has its own personality, its own character. It
mm,
becomes like a friend in a way, and
yes.
I never found art that actually translated into the friend and the energy that I felt when I was doing tarot.
Mm,
Um, and actually it took me so then when I actually started it, it took me a whole month before I actually started drawing because I was really scared. And it's who am I to think I could make a tarot deck, especially with the limited experience. I'm not a deck collector. Now I'm starting to collect decks because it's oh
yeah.
my gosh,
Yeah.
it's just so much beautiful stuff. But before creating one, I didn't actually have much tarot deck experience. So I
Oh wow.
really kind of went into it with an open blank slate, just kind of going with my intuition and my interpretations, or the imagery that came up for me was very much fluid and on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of just it was a whole process of trusting that and continually letting go. And but anyway, to answer the timeline question,
Yeah.
it happened really fast. So I started drawing in July, around July 1st, after a month of thinking about it and restudying, revisiting the meanings. But and then so I started drawing for a month. It took me a total of 3 months to finish illustrating the deck, but I didn't actually, like, I started the Kickstarter before I was done with the deck.
Oh.
And that, like, I didn't know that people didn't do that. Like, I think I was just kind of like, oh, like, how do people, like, how do successful deck creators, like, do this? And then that's when I found Kickstarter. I'm like, oh, okay, like, they do it through Kickstarter. Like, I've never,
Yeah.
so then I was like, I'll just do it that way since, like, that's how they did it. And I reached out to some creators, and then just kind of, like, signed up for it. And then it was like, okay, so, like, now I have a month, like, I really have to finish. And I was amazed, like, how much support I had even without, like, showing all the illustrations because they actually weren't done yet.
So how many
Um,
illustrations, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but how many illustrations did you have when you actually started the Kickstarter?
I think I was still missing, like, 1.5 suits of
Oh
the
wow,
Minor
so yeah,
Arcana.
so quite
It
a
was a lot.
so yeah, so it was quite, I
Yeah,
mean, you had most of it, but it was still quite a lot.
it was kind of a lot. Yeah,
Oh man. Okay,
yeah,
so the Kickstarter happened and you kind of started that process. And so I imagine that like the Kickstarter, like you not having finished, but starting the Kickstarter, I imagine that was kind of like a big like fire, right? Like to
yeah,
motivate you. Like you're
yeah,
like, oh, I gotta get it
yeah, yeah. And honestly, like, I've always wanted to finish a big project, and this is actually the very first time I finished, like, from start to finish, like, something. And I'm pretty sure if it wasn't for that Kickstarter, like,
done.
and then it's like it was also kind of fun that way too because my backers were really part of the process. So, like, when it came to, like,
Mm,
designing the box and, like, designing different things
that's
and, like,
interesting.
offering, like, the session cloth, like, I actually had a lot of feedback from my backers, which was really nice. I mean, sometimes it was
Mm,
overwhelming because I was like,
yeah.
well, I like this kind of box and I don't like this
Yeah.
kind of box, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh god. but
Yeah,
but it was really special in that way. I feel like it definitely felt like co-created, and it was overwhelming, but it felt really good.
yeah, I can imagine, and that's really interesting. Like as a creator myself, like it puts me to wonder, um, like how you can still like you can have this space to like edit and change, especially with something like Kickstarter, because like you have like 30 days or whatever
Yeah.
before it's funded, and so like you have that whole month for backers to like if that's something that helps with your process, like you like getting that feedback like, hey, how can what is this box like, what do you all think about
Yeah.
this? And so like I know I've been part of a couple of Kickstarters that were like that were like, hey, there's this new thing that's happening, like what do you guys think about this, or
Yeah.
what about this border? But yeah, so like that's really cool, and I think that maybe it's part of like the magic of the deck, right? Because it was like you made it to this point, and then like after that certain point, like it became this process of like you and like all of these, like how many backers did you have, like 1,000 or
It was
something?
close to 1,000.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
wow, that's so amazing. Like, good
Yeah.
job. Like, that's so awesome. Um, so along those lines of like Kickstarter and like all that stuff, like is tarot like your career, your job? Like, is that part of like what you plan on it being? Like, is that like, did you plan for it to be like
No,
this? Like,
no. No, not at all. I guess that's why I feel so thankful every day. Like, I was actually working, besides the seasonal job that was, like, it's my dream job. I
mm-hmm.
was also working a full-time, like, office job, which it's like half office, half, like, sampling crab, like, huge king crab. And
Mm,
um I just I was really kind of, I feel like it was kind of even making me sick. Like, it was to the point
mm,
where, because I was, working a full-time job, coming home and working on this stuff till like 2 in the morning and then getting up. And so, I think, and actually I ended up, like, leaving my job and
yeah.
trying to focus on this. And it's just crazy because it's something I've always really just, like, wished and dreamed about. And I didn't think it was possible, but I guess I'm just going for it now, and it is scary, to, like, just try to do full-time art, but just the support and love and encouragement to keep creating has been so immense that I'm going for it.
That's so awesome. That's towards the end of the interview, I think I'll ask you a little bit more about that. But I think that that's like just the perfect example of like, and I said the same thing when I interviewed Brianna from the Wild Wolf Tarot. It's like seeing you and your success and seeing what you've been able to do because you've had this success is like showing other people that if you follow like what's true to you, like if you follow like what intuition is telling you, like if you follow your authenticity, like the universe will provide, like,
Yeah,
and it's so
yeah.
inspiring to see that.
I think I feel like when while creating the tarot, the gentle tarot, it's like so much of the lessons and like the meditations in the tarot itself, like any tarot is just I feel like it's about that. So it just feels like I don't know. I don't know how to describe
Magical.
it. Yeah.
Magical.
Yeah.
Okay, so just one more kind of more technical question that I'm like, because I'm trying to figure out
Yeah.
so you're completely self-published, right? Like no, like you found the printer, like you did all of the work
Mm-hmm.
to get all that done. So what was the process of finding a printer? Because I know you wanted to be like sustainable, you wanted it to be like I know you were trying to do your best and you're
Yeah.
donating 10%. So like, and I'm in the same page with my deck. Like, I would really prefer it to be like as sustainable as possible, the best kinds of inks and like all of that, whatever, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
like, how is that? And then also like, how is the shipping process? Like, how did you manage?
I'm still trying to figure that out. Um, yeah, so finding a printer, actually, so I found my printer just through reaching out to other deck creators. And I
Okay.
was also kind of worried about like pirating because I've seen a lot of that happening online, just like
Mm,
people. So I just wanted to go with someone that I trusted, and I did look into printing like in the US, and like there was also a more like eco-friendly printer in Italy that I was talking with. But I guess it just came down to like I just felt like the one in Italy, I feel like it was a bit more of a risk because it was much, much, much more expensive to create with them.
mm,
And also just and I'm still considering trying, but it's also hard because the printer that I'm with and a really popular printer that a lot of fellow deck creators are using right now, just the quality is so different. It's like
mm,
the production quality, like different things that we need and require, like as like tarot deck creators, like it's just so much more like streamlined and like the quality
mm.
is so it's hard. It's really hard. I've even thought of like printing them myself, like
Yeah.
at home. Like how could I do it myself? But it's just hard. It just depends like what you want and like what kind of quality things are important. And in terms of shipping, um I just it's been hard, especially because I live in Alaska. Shipping
Mm.
isn't easy.
Yeah, same.
I'm
I live in
sure
Puerto
for
Rico,
Puerto
so
Rico
I'm like,
too, it's
I don't know what the
hard.
heck I'm gonna do.
Yeah, yeah. So that's also a tough one. And I did have to have like all of my decks shipped for the Kickstarter, like to my mom's place in the lower 48. So like it was much more easy to get stuff to her house. And then I had to but then
Mm.
it's like during COVID, like travel there, and then like her house is
Oh.
tiny, and there's like tons of boxes, and so it's not ideal. And I do have a bunch of decks coming to me here in Alaska, which I had to pay. I mean, it's just so expensive. It's like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
And it's like, do you have to pocket that? Like, you just have to pocket it,
It's,
right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
you can't,
So
because you can't like, or did you factor that into the price of the deck? No.
no, I don't factor anything in because I'm like, my brain doesn't really, like, I'm not a business person. I've never
Yeah.
run a small business. So, like, in terms of numbers and like keeping track of everything, it's really, really hard for me. I just want to draw.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so it's
Same.
it's it's complicated, but one thing I'm trying out right now is a fulfillment center that's like actually in the same city as my printer, and
Oh.
that will like it's gonna cost like $8,000 to ship some decks to me right now versus $58 to ship it to like a fulfillment center.
58? No
Yeah, I
way.
know. I didn't
That's
find out.
that's
I didn't find
probably
out
gonna be
about
me.
that until after, you know, and it's actually much better for the planet because you're not shipping
All over the
stuff
place,
all over
yeah.
the place. But it is hard because then you have to give up like actually packaging it yourself, you know? So like that's like the
That's
one
the
thing.
thing.
That's the one thing that is kind of, I think, but I'm only trying it with my international orders right now, and it's actually going to be a lot quicker because like it's
Yeah,
just so much.
it's
So
streamlined,
it
like you
is,
said, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's hard. It just depends like what you want, and you know, I honestly like people can reach out to me anytime if they want to know like what fulfillment center I'm using or what printer I'm using or if they want contacts, like, and you're welcome to, obviously, you know, like I'll share whatever I've learned along the way, but it is hard and
Yeah, I
you
had a
know,
feeling that that was probably going to be one of the more complicated things for me here. Because, like, even for example, like if I'm going to order herbs from Mountain Rose Herbs, I have to pay like $50 in shipping. Like, just
yeah.
to, like, and it's like, and I started thinking, like, if that's just for like 5 pounds of herbs, like, imagine like hundreds or thousands of pounds in tarot decks. Like I
Yeah.
don't know. So like that was the one thing that I was worrying about. But I did want to say that I'm very interested in your printer because the just the quality of the cardstock, and then also this gilding is probably, I think, one of the best gildings that I've ever had
Yeah.
on a deck. Usually I love the look of the shiny ones that most people get on the sides of their deck. I wish I
Yeah.
had another one, but I don't have one. Oh, like yeah, like
Like the metallic.
yeah, like that metallic, the shiny, that so that's a good one. But if you see, like you can see like nicks and you can
Yeah.
see white stuff and like
Actually, I have sad news about that gilding.
what happened?
The paint person supplier went out of business because of COVID. Yeah, it's
No.
actually the same gilding and printer that like Cosmovisions uses, and like I bought that deck to look at it, and it's the same one that I have, but it's they went out of business.
Marty, no. No, my
I'm
God, don't
sorry.
tell me that. Sorry, I started
But
talking Spanish.
I did tell my, yo también entiendo y hablo español también,
Oh
it's
yeah,
all good.
that's true. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I told my printer, I'm like, no, like, you know, so I don't know, hopefully they,
what are they gonna do now? Do you have like do they have like a second option, or you just have to do like the shiny now?
no, they have matte, and that's, I have like decks coming in that have a new matte with new paint, but it's just, I'm not sure how like durable it is compared to that first one, you know?
Oh,
Like,
okay. So I've
you
got
know what
like
I
a
mean?
limited edition.
You got a limited edition. Yeah.
Wow, that's sad. Because I was like,
Yeah,
that was the one thing that I was like, man, this gilding, I want it on my deck
I
because
know.
like it's so amazing. Um, another
They're
one
working on
that's
it though.
so
They're working on it, hopefully.
hopefully they can get it back. So maybe when I'm ready to do mine, they can do
Yeah.
it because another one that's very similar to this one, is on the Afro Avatar Tarot. I don't know if you know about that one.
I haven't
Uh,
seen it.
it's not super common deck. But yeah, it was made by oh I can't remember, Nydia. Nydia is her name, and Colored Afros Art is her Instagram. Maybe I'll leave it in the comments so you can probably, because she does
Yeah.
amazing artwork. But she has the Afro Avatar Tarot, and the gilding is very similar to this one, so it's like not shiny, and it almost feels like it. I guess like the reason is like this one feels like it's like embedded in the card,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the other gildings, it almost like it feels like they peel off of the card.
Uh-huh.
So like that, and her deck is very similar. So uh, she may have some contacts about that type of
Cool.
gilding, so that might be an
Yeah.
option too. Um, okay, so that was. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my list so that I don't remember forget anything. Finding a printer. Yeah. Okay. So now I wanted to just go on to asking a little bit more about like the Gentle Tarot as the deck in general. So like I wanted to ask like what was like the indigenous influence? Like how much did that influence the creation of the deck? And also like where did the name come from? How did you come up with the Gentle Tarot?
Yeah. Um, I guess um when I talk about like my indigenous spiritual background being influenced, I feel like any kind of spiritual art that I create is influenced
Mm.
by my indigenous
It's part
spiritual
of who you are,
background.
yeah, it's who you
It's
are.
just, and I feel like, especially with the Gentle Tarot, and honestly, I feel like this deck like kind of created itself in a way. And
Mm.
so a lot of times I would get visuals, before I started drawing, or visuals before I even,
Mm.
I mean, before I knew what I was gonna write. So I guess the main thing is just, remembering and being in touch with our connection with our natural environment. Like ultimately that is the basis of my spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And having that connection be real, it's just daily, it's like, and being thankful and humble and just
Mm-hmm.
respectful, and for every step and every breath. um
Yes.
so I don't know if I answered that completely. Thank you.
Yes, you did. The other part was the, oh wait, was that part of the origins of the name?
No, so I
Oh,
don't
okay.
know. I don't like, I had already actually been, I was already illustrating like maybe half of the major arcana. And then I was just with my coworker in the remote job, and we were just like walking towards the beach or to the river. And then I was like, maybe it should be called the Gentle Tarot, because maybe it just kind of felt like that. Like it wasn't like,
Mm.
none of the art that was coming out was very like, it was just like the the energy I mentioned earlier of like my tarot, like like the being I envision with tarot is always like unconditional love, embracing, and always there with, even if the message is very direct, it's still going to be given like with love. But the crazy part is we didn't have any internet for the whole 2 months that we're out there. So like I couldn't even Google to see if the Gentle Tarot already existed or not. So I had to wait until we got home to like find out if it was available. So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I think that's actually a perfect segue into one of the experiences that I wanted to talk about, because when I first got the Gentle Tarot, um, I did a deck interview for it, right? Like I do for most of my decks, and I'm not sure I posted this one, but I did a deck interview, and it was so funny because it's called the Gentle Tarot, but that doesn't mean that it pulls punches. Let me explain why I say that, because when I did the interview, three cards popped out before I could even pull any cards. And I can't remember exactly what the cards were, but basically it was like you need to respect these cards more. Because I kind of
uh-huh.
just like pulled them out and like just did a reading on my bed, and they're like, no, we need sacred space. Like you need to get your shit together, basically. And I was like, okay, well, okay. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And so like it was great for me. It was actually awesome because like a lot of the times with these kinds of decks, like there runs the risk of like just being everything being like rose colored and like everything is just like positive and great. And so like
Mm-hmm.
literally the first reading I got was like I saw the tenacity, right? I saw like this need like and so like I feel like that calls back to like the indigenous influence and like just like respecting and like having honoring something, right, for what it is. And I think that that came through really strongly. So it was just a really interesting experience. It was like it's the Gentle Tarot, but that does not mean that it will not tell you what needs to be said. So I just wanted to like I don't know that maybe that, well, we'll see. I just wanted to acknowledge the importance of these kinds of tarot decks, and like of coming out with like art that's inclusive and diverse. And I noticed that I think all of the images are female and they're nude. And so I wanted to kind of hear your opinion or like your perspective on like why decks like this are important and why they need to be like out there, and why they need to kind of be contrasting to the other kinds of decks that are being published.
Mm-hmm. So actually they're not all female. There are
Okay.
some male figures in the deck, and there's also some androgynous figures in the deck that I felt was really important for me to
Mm,
keep to add in there. And I guess real quick, bringing it back to, I guess, how I mentioned like the energy I always felt with tarot was always very feminine to me. So I
mm,
think that's why a lot of them came out, you know, with the feminine female body.
right.
Um, so, and I guess it's hard for me to answer the question too, because I don't have so much experience with tarot decks. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been exposed to that many, so it's not like I went into it with an intention to do something in response to what's already there, because I was not very familiar with what was already there. I was kind of just listening to what, like each card kind of how it wanted to express itself.
Yeah, that makes
But
sense.
but I do feel now that I have had a window and like I have been more observant of what is out there, I do feel that, you know, it also just for me felt really important to include people of color, you know, and people that look, you know, like me, like us, you know, just to have more inclusion and be, you know, it's kind of crazy how little of it there is, and I feel like it's good that more and more are coming out.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear a bit more about like what inspired you to make those changes, and like how each of like how they change, like why the page seed and the night root, you know, that
Mm-hmm,
kind of thing. Like
mm-hmm.
how did that come to fruition?
I mean, I guess so the court cards, I mean, they were always confusing for me. But when I was revisiting and studying, I just felt like it really meant like a personal evolution, you know, like personal growth.
Mm,
And then I was thinking of like different stages of growth, and
mm,
especially just bringing it back home to being really just in nature and like not separate from nature, and to be able to bring those two together where it's like you are the seed and the root.
mm.
um uh-oh
Yeah, I think you're
oh
still here.
okay, all right. um so yeah, just like I wanted it to make that connection even more strong, so we can even like think of ourselves as in going through that plant stage of growth, because you know, in a way we, I mean, we are, you know.
Yes, yes. And when
And
I saw, oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh no, no, go.
No, I was just gonna say that when I first saw the seed to harvest, I was like, oh my God, like my brain, it just blew my mind because I struggle with the court hierarchy so much. Like on an individual level, like I can understand the cards, but like the hierarchy, like the implied like pages under this, like not as
Yeah,
important or maybe immature, or like not as actualized as, you know. And so like there's these like things that they're the thing, but the name implies the thing that they're not. And so with the way that you've done it, it like implies what it is and what it does, you know, in our lives. And it's like when I did my unboxing, I remember I said like, you can't have a harvest without flowers, and you can't have flowers without roots, and you can't have roots
yeah,
without seeds. And so like it
yeah.
just connects it all. And it really eliminates the, oh, the king is higher than the queen, or the queen is higher than the king. It's like, well, sometimes you're harvesting, sometimes you're planting, sometimes you're growing, sometimes you're, you know, blooming, you know. So like it just depends on where you are in your life. So
Yeah, and then you can
um
harvest the seeds too. Start all over again, you know?
exactly. And that's, oh, that's also the other thing I, or somebody said in my live, was that the harvest like implies like there's still like the seed, like the seeding after, like it's not, it's like
Hmm.
the beginning and ending of a cycle.
Yeah.
So I really loved that. So that's really cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So the order or the names seen through harvest. Oh, we have a question. Um, this one I don't have on here, so I'll go ahead and ask it now. It says, this is Rachel's Daily Tarot asks, "Hi guys, would love to hear what the most difficult card you found to illustrate was, and what was your favorite? Thank you for bringing this beautiful deck into production."
Oh, that's, there were a few pretty hard ones. Um, I probably won't talk about like the ones that were technically hard, but I feel like, there some of the cards, it being the gentle tarot, like to bring in really like potent subjects that are not necessarily usually depicted in a gentle way, I feel like was sometimes challenging. Sometimes it would just kind of come up. But like that was one. That was one. And actually that one wasn't hard though. Like that one came to me pretty quick. But
Mm-hmm.
and but yeah, this one I actually this one was a little,
Mm.
but I ended up just loving it so much,
I
like it's
love
just like
that
it's
card.
so heavy and there were just certain ones that were just a little bit tougher, to like. And this one also, I feel like, I guess,
I have that one right here.
I guess, but I love deep stuff. Like, I love the challenging, deep ones that really push you to, like,
Hmm.
recognize the struggle, because I feel like that's where so much of our growth can happen. Um, but anyway, those,
That's kind of what this card talks about, right? Like using what you've gone through to kind of climb back up to like
yeah,
where, like the challenges, right? They teach you the lessons that you need.
yeah, yeah. But what was the other question that you
It
see?
was what was your favorite to illustrate? Oh, by
Um,
the way, she showed the 10 of Wands and the 10 of Thunder.
oh, my favorite one to illustrate was probably this one.
Oh, I love that card, Maddie. Oh my God. That's literally one of my favorite cards in that deck. I mean, so badass. I love that
Thanks.
card.
Thank you. I think one reason why it was my favorite is because it's something that I have struggled with, to
Mm,
take up space and to acknowledge anger when you grow up, being taught by your family or by society that like those are things that you need to hide and put away when there's so much to be let out.
yeah.
But that
Yeah,
was that was
totally.
probably one of my favorites.
Yes, I mean, I was, so I had to, I mean, okay, so this is the pile that I have of possible cards that I wanted to talk about. So there's a lot. And this is after I've already reduced it by like half. Because I was like, we can't just talk about the whole deck while we're there, and we're probably not going to talk about all of these either. Um, but one of the cards that I put back was the Seven of Wands because that one I just wanted to show it because I just loved it so much. I didn't really have like questions. I didn't have any questions. I was just like, man, because the Seven of Wands I think is slowly becoming one of my favorite minor, or I think my favorite minor card.
Hmm.
I just feel so pumped and like I feel so like powerful and confident and like I got this like it's almost kind of got like a me versus the world kind of vibe, but in a good way. Like I have the power and the skill and the potential to do this and to move forward, and like you said, like my anger and my feelings are valid, and like I have like every right to like let this out.
Yeah. And we are
Um
powerful. We are
yes.
powerful.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. The name. Oh, so when I unboxed the deck, the order of the cards for
Yeah.
me it was so significant. Like it was so significant the way they were ordered. And I wanted to know if that was intentional or if that was just how the deck happened to be ordered.
Yeah. Actually, I really, really enjoyed your unboxing. That was like the best unboxing ever.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
but actually, it actually happened on its own. And I don't know how, but ultimately, when I got my deck, I just, I opened it and I was like, oh, that's cool. I don't know. It felt like it made so much sense, even though I didn't, directly, decide that to happen. But it just felt right, afterwards. It just, that cup overflowing, just it's
Yes.
being given to
Yes.
you.
Yes.
And yeah.
Yeah, that I totally, and like a part of me during the unboxing, I was like, so there's two options here. Either she intentionally did this or just like her deck is like so in tune with like the current collective energies that it just did it itself. and and that's what it sounds like happened. Because um so I do my Divine Masculine Mondays and stuff. But really it all started in summer solstice of last year, 2020, that I got this download that the Empress energy was on the rise. The Yin energy was on the rise, and the Emperor Yang energy was, I don't want to say falling, but yeah, it was falling. And so like there's like a rebalancing happening, where like the feminine is like coming into her power. Um, and so for me, which is why I only use this deck for my Divine Masculine Mondays, is because I feel that like this deck specifically is tuned in to that frequency of like that collective shift that's happening of the Divine Feminine. And it's like so powerful to get those messages across. Um, and so like when I opened the deck and I saw the Ace of Cups, and then it was like the majors were like sandwiched in between the Ace of Cups and the Pentacles or the Stones suit, which I was like, oh my God, the majors are like, it's like sandwiched between the two feminine energies, and like that's what's happening right now, like the collective shift. um so it just blew
I
my
love
mind.
that. I love that.
um
And honestly, I feel like I'm gonna keep it that way for the pocket deck too. Just feels right.
oh yeah, for sure. Wait, did you say pocket deck?
Yeah, I'm making a pocket deck.
Oh, yay! That's so awesome. Oh my gosh, so many cool things, which that's also part of the conversation a little bit later. So two more questions before I move on to the next subject. Actually three, because there's another one in the box that has to do with what we're talking about. Um, so there's a lot of rainbows in your deck,
Yeah.
which is amazing, and I love that. So what was the inspiration for including the so many rainbow motifs in so many of the cards?
I think ultimately it's just rainbows have always been 100% pure magic to me. I just feel like every time you see a rainbow, it's like this gift, and it's passing. It's not permanent, and it just happens to be in the exact place where it wants to be. And I guess ever since childhood, they've always just been reminders of that connection, that kind of spiritual cosmic connection with the natural world around us.
Hmm.
Um, and I think a lot of the cards that have that rainbow, it's kind of representing that divine connection, and
Mm.
that unconditional love and
Yeah.
magic
Yes, I
that's
love that
there.
so much. I have an example of how the rainbow motifs like show up in the deck and how like they influence the messages of the card. So we have the Four of Cups. And the Four of Cups is like a lot, like a very like rest, introspection, contemplation, possibly even like ignoring or like not seeing stuff because you're kind of in that space. So we have some rain here in the corner. So then fast forward to the Nine of Cups, and we have a very different scenery here of somebody open and engaging. But then we have the rain motif again, but now it's accompanied with the rainbow.
And so I think
Yeah.
to me that shows like the progression, right? Where it's like there's no rainbow here, so like, and there is rain, so like this person maybe isn't seeing the rainbow, or maybe the
Mm-hmm.
rainbow is just beyond his vision. Whereas in
Yeah.
this one, like the person is really directly interacting with the rainbow, even though it's also raining. And so like the rain here can almost be like, man, it's rainy, it's cloudy, like I want to stay inside. But then here it's like a sunny but also rainy day that we can appreciate the rainbow in it. So I love that. This is one of my favorite like progressions in terms of like how the rainbow motif can be used or is used in the deck.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so the other question is from Vishak. I have reviewed many of Mariza's drawing. Why is she inclined toward the color blue?
Oh, honestly, I think it's very, I was living on an island, so we're surrounded by ocean all the time, and I feel like it definitely, that's why,
Hmm.
fitting in that ocean
Like this one,
energy.
right? Like the
Yeah,
ocean, the Two of Swords.
yes.
Okay, so last question about like artsy stuff. Um, you decided to go with the colored borders. Was there ever a moment where you were like considering borderless, or like, or was it, did you always have like border, like I know it's gonna be bordered, or like how did you?
Yeah, no, so originally it was just gonna have a white, like thin border, just like white. Um, and then when I was kind of conceptualizing the deck, I felt like I really wanted it actually. So originally it was gonna be like a different color scheme for each suit. So like
Oh, okay.
the moon card was the first card that I illustrated, and I thought that all of
Mm.
the major arcana were only gonna have those colors, which
Oh
is like
wow.
the
Which,
purple and the
yeah.
pink and the white and the white and the black. But then the next card that I drew was the sun card, and
Oh my
like that
God.
was totally colorful. And I was like, well, I gotta drop that idea, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I ended up just really wanting, I guess I thought, like if you're doing a spread and like visually you can see, okay, I have a lot of like fire energy or a lot of like yellow, like thunder
Mm.
energy, then it'd be like easy to just kind of see. Um, so yeah, I didn't always know I was gonna do that. But,
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I really like that. And actually today when I was like separating the deck out into majors and suits and stuff, I was like, "Oh my God, these colored borders make it so much easier." Like I just like, "Oh, yellow's over here, purple's over here, bam, 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 bam." And it was just so easy to separate them. And also like, I mean, who doesn't love this effect, right? Like
the rainbow.
that, I'm sure you remember from my live, that blew my mind.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that. It's so nice that it does that. Okay, so actually I lied. There is one more question about the artsy stuff before I move on. Actually I wanted to do a quick check-in. How are you on, how are you with time? We've been here for like
I'm
an hour.
good. I don't know. You're on my phone, so I can't even see the time, but it's
It's
all good, I
8:08.
guess.
It's been an hour.
Okay,
Okay.
that's cool.
Okay, cool. So I wanted to ask a little bit more about the technical processes of like the, like you use Procreate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, did you like study art, or are you just like a natural artist, or did you just learn on your own? Like, and also like, was Procreate like a really good program? Did you have to use anything else to like set up the printing formats and all that stuff? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I plan to use too, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Um, Actually, I hadn't really used Procreate much before starting the deck.
Okay.
Um, and I am self-taught, but my mom is an artist, my brother's a professional artist, and
Mm.
I guess we've always had like art around and like drawing and just like encouraged. But I never like studied, you know. um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so Procreate was really awesome. Um, I had like, usually my art before I had the iPad and Procreate was a mixture of like hand drawn and digital. So I would do a lot of
Mm.
like hand drawn like pencil and watercolor, and then I do like Photoshop stuff.
Okay.
That's like what I used to do, but yeah, Procreate was just so smooth. And I love the different brushes that are available, and
Mm.
I really explored a lot with like what kind of like I basically just chose like three favorite brushes, and I only use like three favorite brushes like for the entire
Oh
deck to kind of
wow.
just because I feel like it kind of really represented the feel that I was going for and was
Mm-hmm.
like but yeah, I highly recommend it. It's just and it's nice to I feel like it's a lot. It's just like you don't have to have paint and like redo and
Yeah.
redo and redo. You could just like practice and you don't have to spend time or like worry about making mistakes or whatever you think is a mistake because you kind of just um evolve. And I feel like creating the Gentle Tarot also helped me evolve artistically,
Mm.
and taught me a lot just from like using it and spending so many hours and hours.
Yeah,
um
countless hours probably.
yeah. um but anyway, yeah, so in order like to prep it for printing, I did use Photoshop to finalize all of the files for each individual card and like the card backs and the box. um but that's it really, and that was just to get it into the right format that is required.
And then once you get that formatting done, then you just ship it to the printers and then they take care of the rest.
Yeah, just like email, like Google Drive.
Okay, so if for example, somebody like me who I wouldn't even know how to format something for printing would probably be ideal to get somebody who knows how to format for printing and to format the cards for me because how that's right? That sounds probably right.
Actually, so I made a big mistake. I didn't create the illustrations in the right format because I didn't know what the format was because I didn't have internet and I didn't even have a printer, so like I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
So it's a good idea to actually like connect with the printer and like find out what like dimensions you need and what
Before I even
I think it's
start doing a
DPI.
lot of them.
You could, yeah, because you can actually make those settings in Procreate so that you're already working on like the form, like the dimensions that you
Because
need.
I'm sure each printer is a little different.
Yeah, but I feel like I don't remember if it was 300 or 600 DPI, but anyway, like those are pretty basic details you can ask any printer even if you don't sign
And
up
they
with
can give
them.
them to me. Okay.
Yeah, and then it just depends on the card size, like the actual size that you're going for. But yeah, definitely do it beforehand and not like me because it took so long to like reformat every single one. So like
Oh
maybe,
man, I can imagine. It's like going back and just having to move things around or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, so probably if you did it right the first time in Procreate, you probably wouldn't even need Photoshop. Probably. I don't know. I'm guessing.
Oh, okay,
It
cool. That's
was
really awesome. Okay, that makes me really
maybe.
happy.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I'm taking that. I'll take it. But if I end up having to do that, I'll probably contact somebody and be like, hey, cause see, like I feel like maybe for you, like I guess you had the advantage that you knew how to use Photoshop already when you started Procreate.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know Photoshop either. So like
Yeah.
Procreate, I'm like layers and like brushes
Oh
and
no,
like
no, it's easy. It's super easy.
Okay, cool. So second to last, or I guess the last question that I want to ask is what publishing this deck has brought to your life? How has it changed you and like what direction did your life take after the success?
um
It's a big question.
uh yeah, yeah. Honestly, it's totally changed everything. Um and it's been hard. Like it's been hard to accept that. Like I just feel like being an artist has been a dream of mine, like since as long as I can remember. So like, in the small island where I was living, this I was at an auction where I had some art like for a benefit and someone came up to me like, "Oh, like you're the artist." And I was like, I felt so scared like, like am I the artist? Like I guess. But it was just also really like such a beautiful moment for me because I had never identified as an artist, and like now like people are, you know, calling me artist.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, well, I guess it's happening, you know, and it kind of just with the gentle tarot, like I had no expectations. Like I was nervous that I wasn't even gonna get like 300 backers, and my initial goal was like so low, like it was like 4,000. Like that's like not even enough to print them and ship them. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know anything, and so yeah, like you know, reaching the 12,000 goal on the first day was just like it just kind of like was just like
You're like,
big.
whoa.
And then to see how far it went, I just, you know, I guess it really, really just encouraged me that I was on the right path and that the energy that I was giving to the world was being received. And
Mhm.
I feel like still, I'm still in disbelief, honestly. Like it's really hard. It's been a really emotional time. Um, and I'm trying to work on that, but it just, you know, I also just feel like, you know, being a person of color in this world is really hard, and just wrapping my psyche around like what success is, or like even being able to say that word out loud and like feel like I can own that and like feel good in it has been really, really hard. I feel like I need therapy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all
But
kind of need a little bit of therapy, to be
yeah.
honest.
But yeah, I mean, self-publishing it, like I'm so thankful that I self-published. I didn't even know what that meant when I did it. I didn't never like purchasing this like barcode and like registering an ISBN. Like I don't know. I didn't know, but I did it. I just Googled it and like did it. And I'm really thankful because, you know, some publishers have come and reached out to me after the fact, wanting to like publish the second edition and like with all these offers and a lot more exposure and like translations. And I'm just like, you know, it sounds good, but at the end of the day, like it's actually kind of like you're just selling it to someone,
Yeah, yeah,
you know. And I
yeah.
didn't know that either. I was like so excited when the publisher contacted me. I'm like, oh, like that's cool. But then I was like, wait, like how does this even help me?
Right.
um
And how does it
so
help the earth, right? Because that's kind of what you wanted to do with the deck. It's like heal yourself, heal the earth, you know? So it's like how.
yeah, and it's hard because a publisher company even suggested they would continue to donate 10%.
Oh,
But I just don't know how much you can trust and like where is it? You know, it's just it didn't feel fluid and it
yeah.
didn't feel like the right thing. So I'm happy that it's in my own hands and it feels
I
so
think you should
good.
keep it that way. I'm just saying.
Thanks.
You do what you're gonna do, but I think you should keep it in your hands.
Thanks.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So that's really awesome. And like I said towards the beginning of this live, you know, seeing other people and their success is inspirational for people like me, where it's like, I know that you were thinking the same things I'm thinking about, like, oh man, like, I don't, who am I to do this? And like, so seeing that is super inspirational. And I think that, it just like goes to show that like once you follow your truth, like you can achieve your dreams. Like you said, you know, you've been dreaming to be an artist for your whole life, and like here you are like grasping it, you know, and like it's scary, like you said, but you're here and you're doing it. Um, I did want to ask, you mentioned about the Kickstarter, the goal, like the initial goal. Um, like was that just like a random calculation, or did you like like how did you, because I'm trying to figure out, like I don't know how I'm supposed to estimate how much I need to, like I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's an important question. I guess I did get a quote from a printer beforehand, like, okay, this is how much it's gonna cost to like print.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if I initially quoted 2,000 decks, maybe. I ended up printing 6,000. Because
Okay.
I ended up using like all of the Kickstarter money towards like more inventory.
Just more inventory, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So but you really have to calculate shipping. Like it's so expensive. Like for my campaign, I think it was like $16,000 of shipping.
$16,000? Holy shit.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's including the Etsy pre-orders that were after
Yeah, but still. Oh, I don't.
how I would have calculated that. But
Yeah, I mean, like, whoa.
yeah. But you
Well, at
gotta
least now I
also,
know.
and you can consider fulfillment centers too, which like would have saved a
Mm.
ton of money, you know. Um, but anyway, you have to calculate like production and like if you want to pay yourself. I didn't do that, like, or my
Well, yeah,
helpers.
I'm hiring out an illustrator, so I at least have to, and that's the thing. Like, I don't know, like what the appropriate cost to pay an illustrator is, or an editor, or if I
Hmm.
have to, or if I can get that done like by friends, you know, stuff like that. It's like I
Yeah,
don't know how to calculate that either.
yeah. For my editor, I mean, she is a friend. I kind of just offered her what I felt I could, like from the Kickstarter money. Like, I was like,
Mm,
okay, like I have this much, like that's my budget
okay.
probably for an editor. And I offered that to her and see how she felt about it. And I also told her, you know, like make sure like if your hours aren't matching up with that much, like, you know, I'm happy. I just want to make sure you're happy.
Yes, yes,
Um,
I hear you.
I don't know about illustration. That seems hard.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and ask this last question before we do the last thing. She says she wants to ask, is there any relation between the universe and spirituality?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think for me, like outer space and like representations of outer space for me personally are like going back to that source, you know, of unconditional love.
Mm,
Um, so like with the hand like coming out of like that cosmic force, it's just like that's where like
yes.
our origin and that unconditional love is.
It's like in the, let me see if I can find it. In the, one of my favorite aces is the Ace of Stones.
And I think also just like including stars too in a lot of the illustrations are kind of that connection
Mm,
too.
kind of like trying to connect it to like that universal, like,
Yeah, like even in this one, in the blanket too.
mm. Yeah, I love that, and I think that that really ties in really well because like it's like the macro and it's like the macro and the micro, right? So like the universe is the macro, and then like our individual spirituality is like the micro expression of like that expansiveness, which is
Yeah.
space. So yeah, I really love that one. Thank you for the questions. I think that's it for questions about the deck. So the last thing I wanted to ask you about are these new projects that you have going on. Like what's on, like what can we be on the lookout for the Gentle Tarot and Mari in the Sky? And also like where can we find you? Are you on YouTube? Do you just have Instagram? Like where, how can we best get into contact with you? And also, where can we get your deck if we don't have
Yeah.
it?
Um, yeah, I don't do too much like internet stuff. I think Instagram is probably where I'm most active, and that's like not even very active, but I try. So yeah, Instagram is the best place. Etsy, my Etsy shop, it's linked in my bio. But I'm really excited. I'm working on the full size guidebook. And I'm super
Ooh.
excited because I just got sample books. So I'm choosing. I know it's not a sample of a finish, but like I'm just like choosing like what kind of binding I want and like what kind
Yeah,
of
that makes
finish and
sense.
stuff. So I'm really, really excited to get that done.
Yay.
And I'm also working on a pocket deck and a Oracle companion deck, and I'm still coming up with the names. So I'm not sharing any names for it yet,
Yes,
but
no, no worries, girl. Keep it to yourself until you're ready.
thanks. Thank you guys. I could see some comments. Lots of love there.
Yes, there's lots of hearts coming through. I'm super stoked about the guidebook. I remember reading through the guidebook and I was like, man, I wonder if she's gonna come out with a full-size guidebook, because this is like it's like I want more.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm reading some of the descriptions and I'm like, man, I know that she's got more to say about this. um, but yeah, so I guess the last thing I wanted to ask about, the very last thing, is because I do have some questions about some of the cards, and I did want to see if I can get your opinion on them, or your like where you came from when you were making them. Um, okay, this one, this one, this one, and let's do this one. Okay, so the first one that I wanted to ask about, and see if maybe like intuitively I was right, is the Death card here with the Hermit Crab. I really
Yeah.
I love this card, and I love hermit crabs. I have like a history with hermit crabs, and like here on the island in Puerto Rico, they're like a big thing. Like when you're at the beach and stuff, you see them all the time. Um, and so the first thing that came to mind, and I think I read the little book about it, and it's about like kind of like shedding your home, like the hermit crab has to, like when it has to find a new home or a shell. But I guess I just wanted to like hear a little bit more of your perspective on like the art behind this card, and see like how you connect it to the death archetype.
Yeah. Um, I guess like the hermit crab like immediately came to mind when I was just kind of sitting with the death card. And I love the kind of trust, of like releasing that old shell.
Mm,
But the hermit crab doesn't have to stay, like the hermit crab, I feel like I admire the hermit crab and like I'm humble towards him because like there's no thinking, there's no doubt. Like, okay, it's time,
mm,
like doesn't fit anymore and there's another one, And so I just personally, I feel really inspired by the hermit crab in that way. And I also, I guess in terms of the art, it has like kind of like a fire kind of color scheme a little bit. And like
mm-hmm,
even with like the blue in the new shell, it's like when you have fire that's like burning really strong, you get like that blue flame.
mm.
And I just wanted just to, it's like igniting you to like trust and like
Yes.
move. Um, yeah.
Yes, I love
And
that, and I
also
love.
there's
Oh, go ahead.
like stars around, so like we were talking about like the universe,
Oh,
I just feel like
yes.
there's also that support there, like just like surrounding you during the
Yeah, exactly. And I love that that this is like the mirror image here in the back, right? Is that the same one from the death
yeah,
card?
yeah,
And I love that about this too, because it was like it's almost like when you're looking at the back, it's like you have to let go of all those preconceived notions so that you can receive the messages from the tarot. So it's like a little bit of the death card each time you look at the
yeah.
back, you know? um, so the next question, or the next card, is here, this Justice card. I
Yeah.
love like the two hands balancing, but I don't know, something was telling me that there's like something else that I'm missing from this card that I'm not sure about, like the concept, or like I don't know if this is like a divination method or something. I don't know. But yeah, I just wanted to get your like the behind the scenes on this one.
um I guess honestly it's just coming from a place of like making choices, and it's not referring to any kind of specific practice or anything, but
Okay.
it's like those little bags are just basically like bags of seeds, and like they're different. They're only, and like
Mm,
I'm not saying that black is good or white is good or anything like that. It's just showing that they're different. So like there's like two
mm,
different kind of choices. But they're just little bags full of seeds, and I wanted to just kind of represent like the energy that you're giving and like the importance of like decisions, whether they're big or small. And also, it doesn't really look like it, but like the back, I wanted that to be kind of like a pregnant belly kind of. Um, I don't even know if I
oh.
wrote that in the guidebook. I don't know. I had to cut out a lot from the guidebook to make it fit, but
Yeah, to make it fit,
I,
yeah.
yeah, but I kind of just wanted kind of like that very like the potential. in your choices and
I
like
love
the
that.
fertility of the earth supporting you in your choices.
Yeah, I love that. Well, something that a phrase that comes up to mind a lot for for the justice card is like you reap what you sow, and so
Hmm.
like that just makes me think of seeds, and so like I thought they might be bags of seeds because of all the sprouts coming.
Yeah.
And so like that was my initial thought, but I was like, like is this like maybe a divination method or something that I don't know
Yeah.
about, like
Yeah.
something? Because it just looks esoteric, but at the same time, like it also brings that sensation of like balance. And like you said, like one is not like better or worse than the other. They're exactly the same, just a little different, like on the
Yeah.
different side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Um, so I love that. Cool. Thank you. Okay, so last card. Um, I wanted to ask about is the Hierophant card. I struggle with this card just in general all the time.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I just wanted to see if I could get some more depth, like for like the choices of picking these birds and like were these birds like intentional for the Hierophant? And also, what kind of birds are these? I think you said it in the book, but
Cormorants.
cormorants. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, so the deck does have like only like animals in Alaska because I did want to have like just
Mm,
Alaska, a kind of Alaska-based animals. But for the Hierophant, like I knew that I wanted it to be a seabird, like an ocean bird, because um, actually the very first tattoo I got is this brown pelican, and
mm,
it's kind of going back to just feeling like the to me they just look prehistoric, like all seabirds they just look like
yeah.
dinosaurs to me,
Yes,
and
they, yeah.
I love connecting them in that way, like as an ancestor, and like
Mm,
really honoring like how old they are, and how
wow.
long they've been here. And in terms of like the Hierophant card, I feel like it's about really connecting like to like your lineage and your teachers, and um I guess in choosing the cormorant I was just kind of bringing it back to that and like going to that level with it. But
Yeah,
I should in the full guidebook it's definitely going to be,
yes,
a more full
yes.
description.
Well, and I think that like it's good to have like these little tidbits of knowledge, but at the same time it also lets us be a little bit more free in how we interpret the card. And actually you do allude to that in the guidebook about this card, about like how old, like how birds rely on their like ancestral knowledge to like get to places, or
Mhm.
and you mentioned the ancestors in there as well. And so like once I read the guidebook I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, birds, like they migrate and they're just like following like what their ancestors did, and their ancestors did that too. And so like they were just like evolved like in traditions, I guess, but like really they're just like the instincts that get passed down. Um, but yeah, when I first saw this card, I was like, and then, but then once I read, I was like,
Yeah.
I
It
don't
was a
know.
hard one.
I
It's
can
not
imagine.
easy to like illustrate and like describe the concept of the Hierophant. Like that was
Yeah, yeah, totally. I totally agree. And especially I feel like the Hierophant's probably going to be a complicated one for me too.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, okay. So I think, I mean, like I said, I could probably ask a question about every single card in the deck, but I think those were the ones that I really wanted to get through. Um, this has been so lovely, Mari. I had such a great time here. I've learned so much, and I'll probably be watching this interview again, to get, to remind myself of all the advice and stuff. But I guess the last thing I wanted to give you the opportunity was like, what's like one final piece of advice you have, like for people like me who like want to create a tarot deck and want to get out there and do it, but are feeling a certain type of way, or like what's the last thing that you can say to those people?
Yeah, honestly, and I feel like a lot of the messages in the Gentle Tarot like are about like following like your calling and like living a life that you love, and I really truly feel like all of us have gifts to give the world, and like when we're in touch with that, like we know. You know, so you know you got
Mm-mm.
decks, you know? I feel like they're already there. You just
Yeah.
gotta, and I hesitated so much, so I know like exactly what it feels like, and like, you know, it's like, well, who am I to like create something and add something to like this like amazing, like beautiful, like already full, what feels already full, you know, like
Hmm.
tarot community. But if you feel it, that means it's supposed to come out, and like you gotta just go for it, you know? And if you know, there's so much support. I feel like, especially with the technicality stuff, like there's so much support. Like I have found like deck creators to be very supportive. You know, I'm one of them. You know, like you can always
Yes,
ask
yes.
me,
Thank you.
ask,
Thank
reach
you.
out, and you know, I can help with what I can. And I think, you know, as long as you have it in your heart, like you just gotta start. You know, I even had like a little schedule. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna draw like 2 cards by this day, and like I'm gonna draw another card by this day, and like I actually like had to, you know, but it just like once, honestly, once I did the first card, I knew that it wanted to come out, and
Hmm.
you just gotta trust it, and you can figure out all the other stuff later.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, thank you so much. This has been a really amazing interview. I can't thank you enough, and I'm so grateful for everybody who came to join us and ask
Yeah.
questions. I hope I didn't miss any. Um, but if I did, I apologize, and feel free to message one of us. We'll responsive, and we'll see your messages on Instagram. Make sure to visit Mari on Instagram, on Etsy. If you are somebody who is really like just drawn and wanting to heal and grow, but also kind of connect to that like divine feminine energy that exists within all of us, I think this is the perfect deck. And like she said, she's working on other stuff. She's doing a pocket edition, she's doing an oracle deck, she's doing an expanded guidebook. So stay tuned for all the stuff that she has coming up, and also stay tuned for some of the pictures that I'll be uploading to my page with some of the deck or some of the cards that I'm making and sketching out.
Yeah.
So yeah, stay tuned for all of the deck creations happening.
Thank you. It was so nice to like, you know, be live. I enjoyed your unboxing so much. I'm sure I watched it more than a few times. It was just so, your energy is just so good and like so authentic. It's just really nice. So
Thank you. And I was watching the unboxing, and like sometimes like, when you're just in it and you don't realize like you're just being yourself and you're being authentic. I went back and I watched the unboxing and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm such a dork." Like 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 there were some parts where I'm like, "Oh man, I'm cringing." Um but thank you. That's awesome, and I fully thoroughly enjoy those unboxings so much. And yours was so special, and it was like I still remember how I felt that day when I was unboxing the deck, and then I looked at the gilding and I saw all the colors. Like that was the moment that I was like, I was done. It got me.
thank
For
you for
sure.
having me. I'm really excited for your decks. Like, I'm really
Thank
excited for
you.
them.
Thank you. I was talking to Kim from the Way of the Panda Tarot about it, and she's like, I energetically pre-ordered your decks.
Yeah,
And I was
for
like,
real.
that's so sweet. But yeah, so thank you so much for your support, and thank you for like just sharing all of your advice with me and just being open and like, allowing that for this space, and yeah, for agreeing to do this interview with me.
Yeah, anytime.
Awesome. Well,
Okay,
thanks. Have a great night, Madi, or day. I don't know what time it is over there, but
okay,
yeah, much love to you, and I hope to connect with you or to continue developing our relationship.
okay. Much love.
Much love. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.